the dancing surgeon who fixes broken backs and calms nerves before surgery. Dr. Karen Avanesov talks precision, posture, and the real red flags you shouldn't ignore.
I'm Dr. Karen Avanesov, Director of Orthopedic Spine Surgery.
Dr. Avanesov, can you share what inspired you to specialize in orthopedic spine surgery?
I think my parents, they were in the medical field, and I always was interested in more working with the bones and muscles. So I just tried to push myself on the new boundaries, trying to get something new in the family. My mother was mostly dealing with the neurosurgical patients, and my father was dealing mostly with the rehabilitation of the surgical patients. So I decided to be somewhere in between. And that's how I ended up in orthopedics.
What are some of the craziest spine cases that you've treated?
The craziest thing I saw was the airplane crash in Farmingdale. And I think I had two patients come in with identical injuries. It was a L3 chance fracture, completely dusted. And it took me probably 6 to 7 hours to do front and back. But I think that was the craziest thing. And there was a third patient who didn't survive, I think. He died during the crash. The funny part is that both patients recovered very well. Other crazy injuries, it's a summer season coming up. A lot of injuries we had was, besides traumatic, like accidents and everything, what we usually get at level 1, a lot of injuries associated with the diving accident. People get a little bit celebrating, a little bit drunk, start diving into the shallow beach or shallow pools, and then being paralyzed, breaking the spine or dislocating the spine. And that was very common. So that's also a challenge and requires surgery.
So you did your fellowship at Leatherman Spine Institute. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I was lucky enough to get into the Leatherman Spine Fellowship at Louisville, Kentucky. It's very comprehensive, very well-rounded fellowship with lots of top surgeons probably in the world. And I was lucky to do a fellowship together with the spine surgeons and neurosurgeons who was a part of the institute. My training was very well-oriented because we have a pediatrics, adult, trauma, degenerative, all types of the injuries. And within 1 year, over 1,000 surgeries was done.
How do you think that shaped your approach now?
When you got the options of learning, let's say one procedure like anterior cervical discectomy infusion, but you have 7, 8 different surgeons doing slightly different approach, you have an option to pick which is best for you and which is get the best outcomes. And I think that's what I got.
I've heard many of your colleagues refer to you as an artist in the operating room. What part of spine surgery do people not realize requires extreme precision or artistry?
When you plan the surgery and you look on a person and, every single person has different wishing. If you have somebody who is young and I never had no surgery, you need to do a cervical fusion and have to go through the front of her neck. I have to plan where I'm going to do the incision. Incision have to be small. I know it have to be uncomplicated. We have a lot of people who sing, professional singers, and we have to make sure that they have no post-surgical outcomes or voice changes and everything. I think a lot of time we spend on the planning, what we do, how we do, and then, we take patiently an approach, trying to do everything through minimally invasive approach with less damages to surrounding tissues, but with tailored surgery based on every single person.
Do you have any best tips for neck and back pain?
Listen to your body. It will tell you everything. Don't rush with the decision. Unless you have specific symptoms like progressive numbness, weakness, or dropping of the objects, then it's a little bit of what we call the red flags and urgently need to see a doctor. Otherwise, listen to your body, will tell you exactly what needs to be done.
What is cervical myelopathy?
Cervical myelopathy, it's a complicated condition. We have to understand that we have a brain and we have a secondary brain, or what we call the spinal cord. And myelopathy means there is something going on within that cord. It can be compression, internal or external factors, which is limiting. And the people are saying it's a basically stepwise process of deterioration. You're totally normal, then one step of the time you became weak, you have numb, you have a difficulty with walking, then you probably get back a little bit better and you think, oh, I'm doing better. And you're doing better for a few months, then there is another big step down, and now you're worse than you used to be before. And again, people think, oh, I'm going to try to work myself out and do therapy. And again, you regain a little bit better and you feel I'm better. And step by step with the time you deteriorate until you become really disabled. So myelopathy is the process that need to be definitely monitored by the spine specialist or neurosurgeon, because from being perfect to being very bad may take very fast time. Myelopathy is not reversible. Like I said, it can be improved, but it's irreversible.
What are some red flags that I should look for as a patient to know that I need to see a spine specialist?
A few things. Severe pain, not improvable with the medication. Pain in your extremities, arm or leg pain associated with the numbness, weakness, tingling. Funny walk, where you feel like you're walking like a drunk person. Loss of dexterity, like you have a difficulty with buttoning short, or you feel like your handwriting has changed. So a lot of things will tell us that there is certain things you need to see a doctor, because you're already suffering from the complication. And you don't need to be in pain to have that.
Can you explain to me what an anterior cervical discectomy and fusion is?
It's a standard procedure which is done from the front of the neck, usually addresses pathology directly. If something is herniated, compressing on the nerves, I can directly remove it. Less painful than doing from the back of your neck or any other procedures. The way it's done, it's in controllable fashion. We go from the front of the spine, from the front of the neck with the minimal incision. Then we dissect our way toward the spine in between the structures. Then we remove the disc and we clean the nerves and the spinal cord from the compression. Then we templating a cage to appropriate height so we can try restore the alignment and gain that normal cervical lordosis. And we fill the cage with the allograft or autograft bone. And then we attach the cage with the little plate to secure it. The reason why we put the plate, so person does not need to wear cervical collar for postoperatively, which just feels right away better. Usually people are very happy with the outcomes because it's not that painful right away. You take a few days of pain medication, and then you get a gradual normal recovery.
If your surgical team had to give you a nickname based on your OR personality, what would it be?
I don't know, a dancing surgeon?
The dancing surgeon.
Sometimes I can do a little dance when I'm happy.
Good. And what type of music do you listen to in the OR?
A lot of good DJs, good summer vibes music.
What is the most emotionally challenging part of your work and how do you handle it?
So when you think you did the best planned surgery, the best performing surgery, and the procedure went well, and you were preparing for it, but the patient at the end may have not, what we call the 100% outcomes, still has some residual, and you would say like, I did everything, there is nothing more I can do. So that's what's sometimes challenging when you expect the patient comes in and say, wow, I feel so good, like I'm relieved. But we will come back and say, oh, I still have this, still have numbness or paresthesia. You hope that it's going to resolve with the time, but this is sometimes makes me concerned in terms of, did I really did 100%? There is lots of room to improve all the time.
What is one lesson that your patients have taught you that you did not learn in medical school?
Listen to the patient. Let them talk. Listen to them. Majority of the time, they will tell you everything. Don't stop them. Just guide them toward the process of opening up and tell you more about themselves and their symptoms and complaints and sufferings. Then you can really understand where the key issue is.
The patient is nervous before surgery. What is one thing you say that helps them feel calm and confident?
No matter how much I'm going to tell them and how much I'm going to show them in the videos and everything, I found that if I place the patient in a contact with somebody who did already surgery and they're listening directly, and patient usually will tell them exactly word by word what I tell them before the surgery, that makes every single patient feels right away.
What is the most common type of cervical pathology that you treat in your practice?
I would say number one thing why we do the surgeries, what we call the cervical radiculopathy, or the myelopathy, or the combination of cervical myelopathy and radiculopathy. Basically, when patient complaining on a lot of arm or both arms, numbness, weakness, burning, difficulties of lifting back, sleeping. So this is the one where patient, what we call develop neurological deficits not improving with conservative care or actually worsening. And that's the most reason why we have to go and to care of the surgical.
Can you talk about your journey with Total Orthopedics over the years and how you've seen the practice grow?
I think we have a dynamic growth. We have a lot of amazing different subspecialty orthopedic surgeons, which within the past 14 years lead us to develop of what we call a brand now, Total Orthopedics and sports medicine brand. We have a lot of physician assistant and nurse practitioners and staff who works with us. I think created basically like a home environment. It's like a family team. And when everybody works together, that helps to grow the group faster and better. We always directly communicate with the patients. We're reaching them out. We talk to them. We're trying to provide best services possible.
What is something that I can do at home to help with my neck pain?
The best thing ever to do is try to control your posture, be less on your cell phone. And there's plenty of exercises what you can do to strengthen the muscles in your neck. Usually majority of the pain is because of the weak muscles with the time. Well, taking the effect that you have no injury or any kind of trauma. So that means you losing the muscle tone. So first, take a look on yourself toward the mirror, how you're standing or what are you doing?
Do you ever find yourself correcting people's postures on a day-to-day basis?
All the time. Once you walk in and I see you sitting and scooping forward and bending your neck, I know like 3-4 hours you'll be suffering from the pain in the middle, back, and in your neck. So better I correct you than the pain will correct you. Take care of your spine, keep it happy, keep it healthy, and that's it. It will last for a long time.